shippers around the world rejoiced during the season 7 finale of Game of Thrones when Jon and Dany finally got it on. However, we all know this is not going to end well, and we've got to talk about it. What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. Real quick, if you love Game of Thrones, subscribe to this channel to get all of our awesome Game of Thrones content. We're going to be rolling out a ton of stuff as we get ready for Season 8. Is it here yet? Holy crap. So, real quick, in this video, I am going to talk about why Jon and Dany getting together is inevitably going to fall apart and blow up in everyone's faces. I'm going to talk about why it's bad from Dany's perspective, then I'm going to talk about why it's bad from Jon's perspective, and lastly, I'm going to finish the video by talking about a scenario in which their love, maybe marriage, and, possible child could actually work and be good for everyone in Westeros, even though I don't think it's very likely. So let's start right off with Dany. And real quick too, I want to mention, for the sake of this video, I'm going to be breaking things down in two basic categories. It's going to be what does it mean politically and what does it mean morally. So I'm going to talk about that for each one of the characters. So for Dany, politically, the main thing is Jon's going to take the throne. This is bad because Jon's going to take the throne. So this Aegon Targaryen thing, the thing that was revealed in the end of Season 7, was literally cut right as they were getting together. And the producers even talk about it. This is something they wanted to do. Their love, which should be amazing, is definitely not going to be amazing because Jon is the rightful heir to the throne. You see, Dany's whole claim to the throne is based on her bloodline, the Targaryen bloodline, and if she really wants to do the right thing for her bloodline, then Jon Snow, Aegon Targaryen, has to be on the throne. So politically, I think this is going to really be bad for Dany. She's going to be pissed. Like, I see a moment where she gets so fired up about this. We know that this can happen with Dany, that she can be like over emotional, react with a bunch of anger and rage. And I think she's like going to be pissed. But what's weird is if she's truly trying to do what's best for her house and the people of Westeros, it might be good to have Jon on the throne. I can see her being in a spot where she's like, we can be king and queen together and legitimately for the first time, like, actually share that power, put each other in check, and possibly do the best thing for the people in Westeros. Now, as far as morality is considered, I do think she's going to find it bad. I mean, she's his aunt, and I think that even though she's a Targaryen, she's been raised pretty much non-Targaryen her whole life. So I think that a lot of that morality will spill over into her own personal beliefs, and she'll think it's gross, like at first, right? She'll be like, ugh, I don't know about that. But it is in line with her house. This is something the Targaryens practice like a lot. There's 15 generations of inbreeding in the Targaryen bloodline, and there's several reasons for this, which I'll get into later in the video. But I think basically on a moral stand, Dany's gonna see that's not gonna be her big issue. Her big issue is gonna be on the political side. She's gonna be able to get past it, and I kind of think she's gonna be able to get past both. Now let's talk about Jon Snow's perspective. So politically for Jon, this changes the whole game. This is like the most ridiculous thing that could have happened. Even though we've been broadcasting this for a long time, people knew about this in the books for a long time. When you really think about it, I mean, Jon never wanted to be king of anything. But he's king in the north because the people wanted him as their king. They want representation and protection, and Jon did it for that reason. Him being king in the north is still currently politically important. They're sailing to the north together. That happened at the end of the Season 7. Jon wants to do this because them being together is good. Littlefinger even says this. I mean, the king in the north and Daenerys becoming married is a smart move politically. It makes sense. But it's just, I think morally, which I'll get to in a second, it's going to screw up with Jon. But politically, it's also crazy because I can see a scenario where Dany wants him to do it and take the throne. And I can see a scenario where Jaime wants him to do it and take the throne because Cersei might bend the knee to Jon Snow knowing that he is honorable and knowing that her family won't be hurt. So Jon Snow, I can see a scenario here where Jon wants nothing to do with this. He'd rather hide the fact not know about it, and just be in love with Daenerys and just try to save everyone. But I can see a scenario where that feeling and his gut feeling is going to come right in conflict with what the right thing to do will be, and that will be to take the throne. Because I can see the people of Westeros being like, no, 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 no. If you're on the throne, this person will play nice. If you're on the throne, this person will listen. It will be better for everyone. You're an honorable dude. We need you as king. And I think he might have to do it, which is great conflict. It's some of the most compelling things that I like personally about Game of Thrones. So let's talk about morality. This is a big sticking point. This is Ned Stark's son. Now I know he's not biologically Ned Stark's son, but they kind of like talk about this in the finale anyways, where he's talking to Theon and he says, look, he's a part of you. You were his son. Even though it's not biological, he did what was best for you always. And like, look, they try to instill that. And I think that like to Jon, he's just always going to think of himself as Ned Stark's son, and he's going to try to carry on the honor that his father instilled on him. So I think from a moral perspective, Jon is just not going to be morally okay with the incest. Like, at all. He's going to be like, no, this is not what my people do. This is something that we didn't like about your people, and this is morally reprehensible. And I think Jon is going to have a serious problem with being in love with Daenerys. I think this is going to be the crux of the conflict. It's going to be where Jon is like, no freaking way. And Daenerys is going to kind of come around to it and be like, no, this is what's best. And Jon's going to be like, no freaking way. So that's where I think the morality situation is going to go to. Now, finally, let me talk about a scenario in which this could all work out and all the shippers of Jon and Dany would be like, yes, yes, yes. So here's the scenario, guys. We got to remember that the last season of Game of Thrones is going to be in the context of the War for the Dawn. I mean, it's life or death. The whole point of Jon being down in King's Landing, of all of them banding together, is that this is the fight of their lives and of their species. If they lose this, it's over. So, look, it personally looks like the Night King is stacked, and I have no idea how they're actually going to win this, but if there is a way that their marriage and relationship can help humanity, then I think they will do it. I think that Jon, him bending the knee, is sort of foreshadowing for this. This is not something that he would want to do. It's not honorable. It's morally gray, but he does it because it's what's best for the realm, to protect them. So like I said, if this marriage can unite everyone, I think despite the way Jon feels morally about it, he might do it. There's also a real possibility that Daenerys will have a child. Now, I want to do a video about the prophecy about when she's able to have a child again, but the bottom line is I don't even believe the prophecy. I think it's crap. But even in the context of the prophecy being true, there's an opportunity for, you know, the world turning it inside out and all that crazy, the sky meets the blah, blah, blah. That could actually be represented in the last season, and then she could have a child. Now, if she has a child, the child itself is important to humanity. We need living people, especially young living people, because we're going to lose a lot of adults in this war. And I can see a thing where we retreat down to Dorne and all of the children become the new generation. So just in general, that child is important, but also the dragon riding cannot be understated. If it's true that the Targaryens are the only bloodline that can ride the dragons, if Jon Snow, Aegon Targaryen, rides the dragon, he rides Rhaegal, then you could see a situation where that child is so important because they need people to be able to ride the dragons. Dragons can live much longer than humans. If these dragons are to sustain and be our hope of fighting the army of the dead, we need Targaryens. It's possible we need like incest Targaryens. So that is a scenario where all of those things could combine into a whirlwind in which they have to have this marriage, that this love will work itself out, but I don't know if it's going to happen, guys. Personally, I feel like the Game of Thrones pattern here is that, yeah, that's the way it should go, so it probably won't go that way. It's going to get torn apart, things are going to be bad, That's what my gut tells me. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments section. Are you happy about Dany and Jon finally getting it on? Do you think in the context of him being Aegon Targaryen that this is a disaster? I mean, let's have a conversation about this. That's what these videos are for. So I will see you down in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and nerdy day. See ya!